Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7, and I am back with a new track guide for the latest 2 million credits that you can earn on GT7 by simply going into the event, completing the lap time within a certain time and gaining yourself a nice 2 million credits. So for this week we are at Monza and we are driving the Ferrari 330, and it's a tricky one, I've got to be honest with you. It's an easy track, but this car is not the easiest car to drive, so some people are probably going to struggle slightly. And that is why I've done this guide, as usual, to try and help you out and help you get them 2 million credits. Now, obviously, there are 1 million credits available for people that want the silver, and we'll show you how to do this now. So simply click into the sport mode time trial in the top right, and then go into the time trial events. Now, we've got 3 events available here. We've got a guide for every single one of these. So if you click on the 2 million credit playlist, they'll be in there, but we're going to go into the middle one at Monza in the Ferrari, and you can see a 48.1 currently for gold, probably going to be a 47.5, and silver 50.2, probably going to be like a 49.7, and then you're probably going to need to get into the 54s to get a bronze as well. Currently I am in the top 10. I managed to get myself an okay lap. It wasn't particularly amazing, but it was good enough at the time of doing it for a P4 in the world. So you can load my Ghost up and chase it after watching this guide, which might help you out a little bit more as well. So let's start this guide, making sure that you get a reasonable exit from this final corner. Now just be careful on the throttle with this car. You have to do a lot of throttle control. That's my biggest tip for this car, is a lot of throttle control. Use that 70% throttle sometimes coming out of them exits and through the corners. But working our way down straight, you can rev this car out. You can see 163, 164, changing gear to 5th. And we're going to be looking for the 200 board on the left hand side. You're going to see it there. That's what we're using as our reference for the turn 1 into the first chicane. We're going to brake pretty much dead level with that 200 board, maybe a fraction past it, and we're going to brake as aggressively as we can down in a straight line. You can see quite aggressive through the gears, downshifting into second gear. Now I like to take a very early entry. You can see I'm turning before the Ghost in front of me into this corner, because you really want to get it over the sausage curb on the right hand side, and I managed to do that quite well. So right hand tire, what it wants to do is get just to the right of that sausage curb, and you can cut that slightly, and that will give you a better line into the next part. So you can see from here now you've widened the line into the second part, and that is why we're doing that curb there. So you can see widen line in. You're going to put a dab of the brakes in as you come out of this exit, so you can see tiny little bit of dab of brakes, and then that's going to help the front rotate, and you want to get that left hand tire up onto the curb on the left, and then squeeze that throttle in. You can see how I'm gently squeezing it in, playing with that throttle a little bit. Didn't get the best exit there, got a bit of wheel spin. You can see if I would have got that perfect, we would have been probably ahead of the Ghost by over 2 attempts, but I messed up the exit there, unfortunately. We're still pretty much ahead of it though, because obviously I started with an offset. So going into the next braking zone, we are using the 150 and the 200, braking pretty much in the middle of both of them. You don't want to brake too close to the 150, because if you go a little bit deep, very hard to slow this car down. You see down to second gear, and what I'm going to do here is aim to get over the sausage curb again on the left, but we're going to go back up to third before we get into the corner, and you can see right over that middle of the car, over that sausage curb, you won't get a penalty. And then this part again, you want to try and get your right hand side to just skim on the right hand side of the sausage curb. However, I clipped it a bit too aggressive here, so I'm going to lose a bit more time. You're going to see as I'm lifting off the throttle, it's really important to do that, lift off the throttle before you hit the curb. I hit the curb a little bit too hard and probably lose a tenth or so there on the exit. But now we're going into the first Lesmo using the 50 board as our reference. You can see on the brakes before the 50 board, and now just slowing that car down, and we're going to try and take a very tight line through the corner. You don't want the car to run wide on the first Lesmo, it will just understeer like crazy. So trail braking in, keep the car to the right hand side, gently feed that throttle in. Again, you can see how I'm not going 100%, I'm 50-60% before I go 100%. And now we're working into the second Lesmo, and we're braking very short of the 50. Again, I use the 50 as my reference, but I brake a long way before that 50, giving myself the ability to slow it down, get it rotated, and concentrate on that exit speed for this corner. So again, you can see slowing it down, trail brake, then onto the throttle as we hit the curb, and then just squeeze that throttle in as you run the car to the full width of the track. Very, very careful there. You can run wide very easily. And again, you can see could have done that exit slightly better. So there's a lot of time to find in this lap that I've done here. I think I could get into the 44s, to be honest. So into the next braking zone, we're going to use the 150 as our reference. Again, braking short of that 150 though. If you brake on it, you're going to be a bit risky for slowing the car down. So down to third gear, And again, you want to get the left-hand tyre up onto the curb as you approach through here. So again, taking a nice early line, get that left-hand tyre up onto the curb, and then gently squeeze the throttle in through. You want to try and keep the car on the right-hand side. Use a bit of the green Astra. You can see how I'm all the way up on it there. And now, this is a tricky part of the track. This car is so loose that you have to be very careful when you come out of this corner. So a bit of throttling, then up to 4th gear, and then just be careful he doesn't slide, and very careful on the track limits on that exit there. Just a warning. If you go ever so slightly wide there, it's an instant invalidated lap, so just be careful on that exit. Now we're going to go into the final corner, and I'm going to brake between the 150 and the 100. You can see there, we're braking in the middle almost. Pushing the braking a bit aggressively here, but you can slow the car down. So down to 3rd gear, and what we're going to do here is really try and rotate it in. So you can see, we're going to, very late on the brakes, but we're turning in, down through the gears to 3rd gear, and then we're going to slowly put that throttle in as we're squaring the car off. You can see I could have done this a little bit better, but I do manage to get a reasonable exit from this corner. You can see 90% throttle. I'm not putting 100% throttle in there. You can see how I'm like 90%, and then putting that 100% in up into 4th gear, and now powering our way to the finishing line. Now you want to keep the car to the right hand side of the track for the shortest line possible to the finishing line, and we do a 45.3, but definitely a 44 possible for us there. So I do think 44.5s are going to be done by some of the top drivers towards the end of the week, maybe slightly quicker with this car, because there's so much time to find with traction. You'll see it here in turn 1. Got this entry pretty much perfect. That was nailed. This was really good. However, a little bit too aggressive on the throttle there, and just a little bit of rear action loses me a bit of traction, and that's all it takes to lose a 10th or 2 in this car. So if you get it right, you can really gain a lot of time, and I think you're going to see some pretty fast times as people really figure out the traction in this car. Now, pushing it through here, it's all about sending it. Sometimes it's lock. You can see there, perfect on that part. Second part, didn't get it right, hit the curb, bounced up into here, lost another 10th there. But yeah, when you nail these chicanes, you're going to gain massive amount of time, so you will see the times drop as the week goes on, I think, into the, well into the 44s. So second Lesmo again. If you get aggressive there, you can definitely gain a bit of time all the way up this hill and then into the Ascari chicane. So the Ascari chicane, a tricky one. Probably, I think the Ascari is probably the trickiest corner on this whole track because of the way the car reacts when you get on the throttle. So down to 3rd gear, get it up onto the curb. Now I like to use that little bit of green Astra on the right. You can see how it slides the car through. Then up to 4th gear nice and early, and just be careful on the exit there as you're putting that throttle down. But yeah, I think that's the way I like to do it. Use a bit of the Astro. Just be careful you don't put too much power down when you do that though, because that is when you're going to slide the car and lose control. So again, aggressive on the braking zone here. Wait for it to square off, and then you can see that throttle. Look at that throttle input. It's not 100%. We're gradually feeding it in, and that is what is really important to get the lap time in this car. So hopefully this has helped you out. Let me know in the comments if it does. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. We do these videos every single week. So hopefully it'll help you out every week in getting 2 million credits. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you all soon. Bye everyone.